the x to the third plus 6x squared plus 8x, you want to graph it. So I'm not asking you to graph stuff by hand, never have been. You can create a table and graph it if you want, but what we'd like to graph is just an overall picture of it so we can kind of see these different characteristics of the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the x to the third plus 6x squared plus 8x. Can I get the 8x without getting all that other stuff? I guess, whatever. And then I'm going to go into Desmos and I'm going to graph that. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to type in x to the third plus the 8x squared. Let me check that x. So it's 6x squared. This is before I make a mistake at 9 o'clock in the morning. And plus 8x. So there's a graph of that. And I'm going to zoom in on that graph a little bit. And I want to look at the key aspects or points of that. There we go, we got it. Okay, so I have created a graph. And on that graph, what we want to be able to do is we want to look at the key aspects of it. And what are key aspects? The key aspects of that graph happen where it crosses the x-axis and it happens at high points and low points. So what I'm going to click on is I'm going to click on, these are called zeros because that's where it crosses the x-axis. So those will be easy to graph. They instantly go on your x-axis. This is called a maximum because it's a high point of the graph, and this is called a minimum. So when I go into this and I look at this, and if you guys are first given characteristics of a polynomial, then the easiest ones to find when you go into Desmos are the zeros and the max and min of that function. Okay, so let's go graph that. In fact, I'm going to bring up this paper. I'm going to bring up my graph. I'm going to put those key points on my graph, and we're going to plot those. Okay, so on my graph, I really think for me, I think it's going to be easiest if I go through and I go up each one. I want to make each two spaces one spot, just so it's easier for you guys to see. And let's go up every two. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Easiest things to graph are what's called the zeros. And the zeros are where it crosses the x-axis. So I see it crosses the x-axis at 3 spots. I see it crosses at -4, 0. So this dot over here, I'm going to graph. So -4, 0 is right here. I see it crosses at -2, 0. So I'm going to cross right here, -2, 0. And 0, 0. So those are 3 dots. Now, those things are called zeros. Why are they called zeros? Because they cross the x-axis. So they're very easy to find. So if this was one of the problems on the extra credit, I'd be like, this is super easy because all I got to do now is just write down my answers. What are my zeros? Well, your zeros, I got 3 of them, so I'm going to write 3 sets of parentheses. Why are they called zeros? Because all of the y values are 0. And then what were the x values? -4, -2, and 0. Remember on that bonus assignment, like you don't have to do all the problems. Like to pick what you want. If you want some bonus point, do some of the problems. If you want all of the bonus points, do all of the problems. It's not an all or nothing thing. Okay, so I'd hate to see you skip out on it. And it's not too hard if you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so there's my zeros, and I've got those. Now, the other things that I need are the high points and the low points. Well, those are called max and mins. So on this paper, they're called turning points, but turning points are just considered maximum and minimum values. And they are also an x value and a y value. Well, I've already clicked those dots on my Desmos graph right here. So this is a high point. So a high point happens at -3.155. Do you have to take all of the decimals? No. Can you round it? You can, but round it to a couple decimals, or at least 1 decimal. Because if you round it to a whole number, it's not really correct. So I just want to make sure I'm taking everything. But if you want to round it to 3.2 or negative 3.2 and positive 3, I get it. Okay? Negative 3.2 and positive 3.1. However you want to round it, that's fine. Just make sure you keep some decimals on it. 1 or 2 decimals is fine. This is a minimum. That's a low point. So that low point happens at negative 0. Like on that one, if you want to call it negative 0.8, totally okay with me. And negative 3.07, let's call it negative 3.1. So on one of them, I wrote down all the decimals. On the other, I kind of rounded it a little bit. You can choose whatever you want. It's totally okay with me. I'm not that picky. Just don't tell me that they're whole numbers. Don't give me whole numbers. That's not real. Okay? Give me whole numbers. Or give me decimals, because whole numbers you're cutting a little too much off. All right? So there you go. I've answered 2 questions now. So if this was a problem on your bonus paper, hey, look, zeros, turning points, good. Thrasher, I got the graph. You know what? I'm good. I'm going to go eat turkey and be good with it. I understand it. I get it. Okay? Now, let's put those dots on my graph. Okay? So I have a max at negative 3.1. So go back 3 and a little bit and up 3. 1, 2, 3. So that happens right here. Okay? And you now know that's a maximum value, and your minimum value is at negative 0.8. So go to the left almost 1 and down negative 3. So go almost 1, down 1, 2, 3, about right here. Do you have enough dots? I think you do. Connect them the same way that it looks on your Desmos graph. Reach the high point, come down to the low point, come up. If it leaves the screen on your Desmos graph, put an arrow on both ends. There you go, great. We've created that. Now, do I need to look at the Desmos graph anymore? I don't, because I've recreated it on my paper. So Desmos graph, I don't need to look at anymore, okay? So we've got that. If you want to label the max and mins here, like if you're like, hey, this is a max and this is a min, that's okay. If you want to tell me that the maximum happens when x is negative 3.15 and the min happens when x is negative 0.8, you can do that. Some kids mark that on your graph. I don't need you to. Some kids just copy the dots exactly like Desmos and write it right on the graph. But I still need you to fill in your blanks, okay? So do whatever you need, but make sure you fill in your blanks on your bonus paper or this paper or whatever, okay? All right, let's talk about, I didn't talk about domain and range last time because it's really old. So let's do domain and range right now. So when you guys list domain and range on your graph, all you got to do for domain is you just got to list the left side and you have to list the right side. You have to list the bottom side and you have to list the top. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to put that in a set of parentheses. You're going to find the highest dot, the lowest dot, the furthest to the left, the furthest to the right. If it goes to a number, tell me the number. If it's got an arrow on it, what do you say? Infinity. Because infinity means I don't know where it stops. Okay? So remember, on domain and range, we get a lot of infinity answers because sometimes the graph doesn't stop. So when I look at the left side of the graph over here, the left side of the graph has an arrow on it. So the left side of the graph is infinity because it doesn't stop on the left. What kind of numbers are on the left? Negative numbers are on the left. So the left side is at negative infinity. Go check the right side. Does it stop at a number? Well, go look at the far right of the graph. Here's the far right. What do we have on the far right? We have an arrow. That means the right side doesn't stop either. So the right side doesn't stop. So if the right side doesn't stop, what do you say? You say it goes to infinity. And what kind of numbers are over here on the right? They're positive. So there's your domain. Remember, when we did domain and range back in Unit 1 or Unit 2 or Unit 3, you guys got negative infinity and positive infinity a lot because your graphs didn't stop on the left or right. Okay? Your range is the bottom of the graph and the top of the graph. So go look at the bottom. Here's the bottom of the graph. Here's the top. oh, they're the same spots where left and right was. So the bottom of the graph is down here in the negatives. So the bottom of the graph doesn't stop either. So the bottom is negative infinity. Does this top stop at a number? Nope. Arrow on the top as well. So since the top has an arrow and the bottom has an arrow, both of their answers are infinity. The top is up here in positive numbers. The bottom is down here in negatives. So domain and range, you get this a lot of times. Even if you're not sure, it's a very good guess on a lot of graphs. Just telling you, just pointing that out. Okay, so you've got that. There would be some more, a little bit more on your bonus points. Okay. End behavior. End behavior is very much like left and right. Okay, what is the left side doing? What is the right side doing? So when you list end behavior, all I want you to do is I just want you to fill in the blank. And you need to tell me that the left side is... What is the left side doing? And then you're going to tell me what the right side is. You're going to say the right side is... And then you're going to tell me what that's doing. So you're going to give me either words or a symbol. If you're an Alex, it uses words. If you're on these worksheets, it's been using symbols. Doesn't matter. Okay? So let's go look at the right side because it's closer to this little blank. So here's the right side of the graph. Remember, when you do end behavior, don't look at all the stuff in the middle. Just look at the far right of the graph and look at the arrow. The right side on top. The right side on top. What is the right side doing? The right is going up. On the right side, the arrow is going up. This is the right side of the graph. It's pointing up. So the right side is going up. So that's all you need to tell me. You're done. I think on Alex, I think it says it rises, or it's rising or something. I don't remember the exact words. So somehow, some way, it just means it's going up. My numbers are up here somewhere. So the right side's going up, it's rising. What's another way you could say going up? You could say it's going to positive infinity. So if you'd rather say that too, I mean, this is shorter, saying positive infinity, because you don't have to say that, but whatever. Although all three of those mean the same thing. Right side's going up. Let's go look at the left side. Here's the left. We've already marked the left. What did we say the left's doing? The left is going down, because where is that arrow pointed? Down. We've answered end behavior. Don't make end behavior what it is. It's very similar. Going down to, I think in Alex it says falls or is falling or something like that. What's another way to say going down? You could say it goes to negative infinity. End behavior. Done. Up, down. That's it. Positive infinity, negative infinity. Means it doesn't stop. It's either going this way or it's going that way. So you've got all that. Ooh, the blank that says parent function, we already know what the parent function is, because since this graph has a degree of 3, remember, this guy is the parent. He's got the main genetics. So what is this based off of? The parent function is just the original function with no other numbers involved with it. So the parent function is just f of x equals x2. Okay, I got 2 more blanks, and they're increasing and decreasing. And then we're done. Okay, so really, not a whole lot. I just want to make sure, I don't want you to not do the bonus assignment just because you think it's hard. It's actually not too bad if you understand what you're looking at. And that's the thing that we've talked about. How much math have we done? None. We're reading a graph and seeing where it starts and stops. Okay? All right. Increasing, decreasing. Increasing means when you follow the graph, it's where the graph is going to go up, and decreasing is where your graph is going to follow down. So you're going to follow the roller coaster. Okay? So no longer are we worried about the ends. We've already talked about the ends. We're not talking about those anymore. You're going to start your little dude on the left end of it, and you're going to start to ride this roller coaster. Okay? So as he rides the roller coaster, he's moving his way up. He's moving his way up. He's building up. Oh my goodness. He's right here. And then he starts to work his way down. So this is a decreasing interval. So he went from increasing, going uphill, he's increasing, to down, which is decreasing. Made it to the bottom. He's gonna start at the bottom, and now he's here. And then he's gonna work his way back up to the top. So this roller coaster, since it's a third degree, it has 3 sides. It will have 3 intervals. Now, what are those 3 intervals doing? I have 2 intervals where the arrows are pointing up. So you're going to answer 2 questions about where it's increasing. So increasing is going to have 2 answers. How many intervals or how many times with that roller coaster working down? Only 1, and that happened right in the middle. So you're going to have 1 answer where it's decreasing. If you're doing this on paper, you can just say, hey, from x equals this to x equals this. That's what intervals are. Intervals are x values. It tells me when you start and stop. X is time. When do you go to work? I work from 1 to 5. There. I don't care what your highs and lows were in the middle of your day. I'm just asking you when you go to work. When do you come home? Okay? So here's how you answer this question. So you're going to have instantly there's my 3 intervals. The increasing interval where he starts, okay, he starts on the left. What number does he start on? I don't know. So if you don't know where he starts, how do we say we don't know? We say he starts at negative something. Well, on this left side, all the numbers on the left, all the x values over here on the left, that's where you started. You started on the left. So his x value is going to be a negative number. His starting x value. And remember, that's what you're going to list. You're going to list from where this starts to where this ends. The first number is going to be where the interval starts on the left and where it ends on the right. So where is he starting? He's starting on the left. The numbers on the left are negative. But what number is that? I don't know because it's an arrow. So if he's starting on an arrow, how do we list an arrow? We list an arrow as infinity. But Thrasher, you've already listed like infinity, like I know. You've listed it a lot so far. So if he's starting on an arrow, then he's starting on infinity because I don't know where he starts. And he's going all the way until he reaches the max. So all the way until he gets to the top of this graph. So he's following all the way to here. Where is that max value at? Oh, we already know because we marked it. It's at negative 3.15. So he ends at the top of the hill at negative 3.15. And after that, he's going downhill. So everything after that, which I'll highlight in pink, is going downhill. Now, where he starts going downhill is where he ended going uphill. Where does January start? When December ends. So his interval for going down is going to start where his interval going up ended. Okay, so if he ended at 3.15, then he's going to start going down at negative 3.15. So do you notice how they're sharing that number? Because that's where he stops and works the other direction. He's going up, stops, goes down. So where one ends is where the other begins. Where December ends is where January begins. You know that, like deep down you know that. Okay, just sometimes kids get confused with that. Do you notice how the answers for intervals of increasing and decreasing, they're going to use your max and min x values because that's where highs and lows happen. Okay, so where does he end his decreasing spot? Down here at the bottom. The bottom is the minimum. So he ends at negative 0.8. Notice that. Notice that. See that? See how you're using your answers for your turning points? You've got it? So if this is where he ends going down, where does he start going up again? Well, where he ended. So if he ended at negative 0.8, he starts going back up at negative 0.8. He's going to go all the way. And where do we end? That graph ends right. It doesn't really end, but all I got on it is an arrow there. So it ends over here in the positive numbers, but I don't really know that number because it's an arrow. So we're going to say he ends at positive infinity. If it was just a dot, you could say he ends at positive 1 or whatever, but there's no dot there. It's an arrow. So if you don't know where he ends, if there's an arrow at the end of your graph, say he ends at infinity. I don't know. Where does space end? I don't know. Infinity? I don't know. So that's how we list them. Okay? All right. So remember, on your bonus assignment, I really think you can do all of it. I really think it's there for you, okay? But I know it's very hard at home to focus and get things done and stuff. But that bonus assignment is a great way to get grades up, because I don't want you like emailing me at midnight on December 16th saying, Thrasher, I need to get my grade up, and then you didn't do bonus assignments, you didn't do your test retake, you didn't redo your stuff in Alex. You got all these opportunities where if you're worried about grades, you can redo all of these things or do this bonus assignment. The only thing you can't redo is the Google Forms, because those are only one try. Okay, but there's so many other things you can do if you need that. You might not. Okay, so back into Canvas. So if I click on your modules, we just did that one example problem, and then that goes right back into Unit 4, excuse me, and 4.3 bonus one. Okay. So that's what we opened up at the beginning with. So there's your PDF document. Put all of your photos, whether you got 6 photos, put them all into one Google form, upload that. If you don't follow the directions, I can't give you bonus points. Okay? Your bonus homework looks like this. This is what we covered the last 2 classes. So if you need help with any of it, I can do it with you, for you, whatever, if you want to stick around and have questions on that. Okay? And then the last 2 questions is exactly what we just did on this example. Now, it's not written the same way where you don't have the answer boxes written around the graph, but it's this. It's totally this. Okay? So do the bonus assignment, get as much as you can, fill in blanks. If you need help, I can help you. I can help you with anything. You just got to take the time to log in and talk to me, or stick around and talk to me, and I can do that for you. Okay? So I don't want to add anything on top of that. So everything that we've done up to this point, we've talked about before today. So that's pretty much it for today. So all I want you to do is, before you leave today, just really go to the comment section and tell me one thing that at Thanksgiving dinner you could have instead of maybe the standard, tried and true traditional stuff. Like if it was me, it could be anything you want. I would add wings to it. I don't like turkey.